So my show over there in Gallery 1 is called Then and Now. And it's about the journey from China to United States. And let's start with my family history. My great-grandfather, who was a government official in Zhejiang province from end of the Qing dynasty. So he was anybody who in China is a tradition, who is a government official or intellectual must know art. And you must have 4 treasures. That is the paper, brush, ink, stone, and the seals, personal seal. So he started painting. Because he's a government official, he must know art. He started painting when he was 50 years old, picking up the brush and ink and started to write poetry and calligraphy. So this is considered art is the highest elite in Chinese society. At his older age, he started to put some colors. Chinese painting, actual traditional painting, is black and white. And one should see the color through the black and white. And it's a modern time that people start to have an idea of put color in there. Actually, that's not traditional Chinese art method. So put some color in there. And always the landscape, the nature is powerful and most interesting in Chinese paintings. Human is tiny little. Human is not important in Chinese landscape. And he also began to be a little minimalist. So, and really animation, it almost like an animating paintings that start to go off the tradition and to have a different try. And my father, who was born in 1927, went through Republican era and Chiang Kai-shek regime and communist China, and through the Cultural Revolution time and China in 80s reform and immigrated to U.S. When he was little, he already know he wants to be artist, but his father discouraged him, saying, "You have to be banker." Yeah, but his father still supported him, gave him the lesson when he was little, get him a teacher and teach him art, but knowing that he must be banker. So he became a banker in Shanghai when he was 20 years old. But on his passion, he still want to be artist. So he used his banking money. He earned money to underwrite a show, a production. So this is his first underwritten production in Shanghai. And he still doesn't give up art. When the time changed in 1949, when Kuomintang and communists and start to fight, have a civil war, and the communists took power, and those days, young people decide which party they should follow. So he decided to follow communists because he wants to do art. So he joined performance group of communist army and traveled more than 1,000 miles from Shanghai to Chongqing, my city. So he's, and same as my mother, also wanting China to change, looking forward for a new government. And she joined the student group of Chinese communists. Same time, traveled and marching by foot from Shanghai to my city. And they haven't met when they were marching. So my mother arrived to Chongqing, my city. She became a secretary of the mayor of my city. So, but soon after, she left Shanghai, and soon after that, she got reformed also, and sending to the countryside. My mother always dreamed to join the marathon run, but in her lifetime, she never had that opportunity. So she run every morning, and she make me to run every morning. and she thought that can give me a good health. So she persistently run her life to keep good health. And my father, 1957, is sending to countryside to be re-educated. Those days that all intellectuals being punished and need to send to countryside to be re-educated by the farmers. You see them smiling, happy, because that's the trick for communists. They always tell people that this is a glorious thing for you. You are lucky. You are the one choosing to go to be re-educated. And everyone goes has to be happy. You cannot show you are not happy, or you cannot not go. So he's living with the farmer, and one of the several stories he told me, so that when he was down there being re-educated, there was a time when the piglet fell into the human feast. That was the thing. Back then is for fertilizing. Human waste is fertilizing, and the piglet fell into the pond of the waste, human waste. Everyone is calling out, saying, "Save the piglet," but he feels like he's the only one being re-educated by them. He should be one, jump in there, save. and if he doesn't, he feels this is not loyal enough to not earnest enough to be re-educated. So he jumped in, saved that piglet, and there was no fresh water to wash, and he just washed it in the rice paddy and just the rice field to wash, and sleeping on the same bed with the farmers. And my mother also had turned to send down to the country to be re-educated. By then, she was not the secretary of the state and the city now. And she's been sending down so many different levels of being farmer, factory, all kinds of lowest the job can be. And she because her great-grandfather, even though she doesn't have much connection with great-grandfather, because of that, in China, always checking your family histories. So your family, whoever is in that kind of position, you will be punished. And I consider my great-grandfather lucky. He passed away, he died of 1953, left a good impression of communists. And right after that, and was being punished of, like people like him or like anybody who's landlord, who's intellectuals, being punished. So, and she's working in a tea farm. My father, as well as a stage designer, he also is an actor. He acts on the stage. This show is actually a Russian show. Those days, China is close to Western countries. Only Russian is Russian art, Russian theater, and Russian history. We just embrace Russian. So he's playing Russian. And he's a theater group and going to many different travels, performance, and his stage design. So he's been actor, stage designer, and makeup artist, as well as doing all different other art. And he immigrated, and when he was age of 65, already retired in China. He worked in the theater in China, which is state-run, for over 40 years. And he was retired there. Now he immigrated to U.S., leaving all abundance of his experience and to China and restart life in U.S. with new culture, new language, new life, and he has completely started from zero. I consider that's very brave. My father always been very open and optimistic of life, same as my mother. And in New York, he worked with TV shows, and somehow we had a little connection, and they hired him to do makeup for TV shows. That was in Astoria Film Studio. Even though he still doesn't know much of language, but art connect you. And this show actually is about a virus. Yeah. That was like 15 years ago. And he also acted in Chinese repertoire and theater, and also did the elderly mothering for Chinese newspaper, TV. He just like all immigrants, do anything. Everything is possible. So he did Chinese paintings. He's the jack of all parts and do everything. And he also helped in New York a Chinese cultural center to restore their space. Did a lot of mural paintings. And me, born in 1960. I was born in the famine, 1960 to 1962. Was a famine, big famine. My mother always feel bad about I never get nutrition. I was drinking rice milk growing up. The rice milk means you boil the rice, get extra water. So when the rice is boiled, get the extra water out. That's the rice milk I drink. And at this time, I was about 10, 11 years old, and China was during the Cultural Revolution time. Cultural Revolution is from 1966 to 76, entire my school year. And my father, first was, China was totally closed from West country. I had no idea about West, about foreign country. And so at this age, my friend and I, we sleep outside in the hot summer on a bamboo sheet, facing the open sky, looking at the stars, imagining where's the foreign country. So I had the greatest idea. I said, maybe the foreign country is on one of the stars. So we started to mumbling and thinking we're going to speak foreign language, and then we got excited thinking we maybe caught one of 2 words of speaking foreign language. So that's how China is so close and no idea anything about outside. And my father, during the Cultural Revolution time, my father see I don't learn much in the school because the school is condemned, education is condemned, and intellectual is condemned. So really not learning much in school. My father said, why don't you learn some skill? I really want to learn dance and violin, but it's not much, like I'm so shy. I couldn't ask anybody to teach me. And also, those 2 things considering Western and bourgeois, and is not encouraged, is condemned. So my father said, you just learn this, close the door, no one knows what you're doing. And also one day I discovered a paint box, which is showing in the gallery 1. It's my father's oil painting box. It's tucked in the closet with full of supplies and brushes. And I was so interested. It's like, this is my father never touch that because oil painting also is not encouraged. And so my father sees my interest in saying, if you learn painting, this box is yours. Then I really wanted that box. So that's how I started to learn painting. And so the painting behind is a poster my father bought for me. And at those times, we don't see any art. And so this actually is a watercolor poster. So my father bought for me saying, you can learn brushwork there, color. So that's how we see a little bit what we learn. Yeah. And my mother pushed me, practice. And my brother, my father, however, saying, it's your future, you decide. That word stays with me until now. It's like, my father gave me the freedom, my mother gave me the push of disciplining, both 2 things, and make me move, make me go, keep going. Oh, my father also, the first lesson he taught me is draw 1 egg 100 times. It should be 100 times different because the environment, the light, and your emotion approaching to the object is different. So you need to find that the differences, subtlety. So years later, now I re-study what he's told me. So study the object, the character of each object, the weight, the light, the environment. So I intend to continue study that. And this is before going to college, and I did lots of practice in sketch and watercolor. This is the Yangtze River. My city is by the Yangtze River. 1980, I got into the school, and it's a Shanghai Theater Academy, and it's been grateful that I got in, because my father spent his entire month's salary to send me to take the air flight to go to Shanghai, take the national entrance exam, national college entrance exam. So at that time, no common people taking airplane. And my father gave me that opportunity and just put me on the plane, say, you go take that exam. Don't miss that opportunity. And I had so much pressure. I feel if I fail that, I cannot come back. And so I went to Shanghai on my own and took the exam. And my grandfather, my mother's parents, my father are there in Shanghai. So when the time to put all the names out, who got it in the school, and my grandmother took me to the school to see the board, so looking for my number, my exam number. I found my number on the board, and I found out I'm so lucky. It's choosing one of 12 people out of more than 2,000 applicants. I was like, now I have faith to go back home to see my parents. So, and those are paintings also in the show. Those are school trip in China, in my school. So it's also my first time. Our trip went to by the sea. I grew up in the inner city and was never see the sea, and only read about in novel or read about that sea water is salty. But this time our class went to the trip by the sea. I have to go taste that water to see. It's not literature, it's real, it's salty. So to satisfy my senses. And my father, at this time, I graduated from school and working in a film studio, which is a government-run film studio. And I really don't like it, even though everyone thinks that's the most desirable job. You got it, and you stay. But I worked there for 1 year because they only produce propaganda movies. I don't like it, and also I want to have an opportunity to see more China. So I quit my job in 1985. Quit my job and traveling, shoestring, and sometimes going to and hitchhiking, sometimes leaving a painting or draw portraits to leave for exchanging the room and board. And I traveled for 1 year, ran out of money. So I came back home. My father was furious because since I went to school in 1980, since I started college, I writing to my parents every day, nonstop. I want them to be with me and feel that we never be apart. So my letter from 1980 to 1992, 12 years continued nonstop from school, college to US, and nonstop. So I write everything. They know everything. My parents is my world those days. But only that year, 1985, I quit my job. The whole year, I didn't write to them. I didn't tell them I quit my job. So I was being hippie without knowing what hippie is in US. Yeah. So I came back home, no money. My father, my parents was so angry, upsetting that I throw away iron rice bowl. That's called iron rice bowl means secure job. And if I throw away, how will you ever be able to get any job? And so my father was angry. Then I said, "You sit, I draw you." So he said for me, and just to say, as much angry he was, he's still supporting me, understand me. And my mother said, forget about art, just get a proper job. And my response to my mom is, who pushed me to do art? Now it's too late. and so this year, so this is another different year, 1989, I came to US 1987. And soon after that, my mom diagnosis cancer, stomach cancer. So 1989, she's having a big operation. So I went back to be with her. So again, I asked her, the first week she came back from the operation to home, I asked her to sit for me to paint. So my parents is always my loyal model throughout my learning, my practicing. And my mother is always the first one get up to fetch the water for a family. We live on the top of the hill, so often the water doesn't come up. So you have to go down the hill, waiting on the line to get water drip, get the water. So every morning she get up, fill the pans and pots for the day for the family to use. And I had never helped as a horrible teenager. And she always the last one to go to bed, to put the fire to sleep. We use coal to burn. So next day we can continue have fire to cook. And her strengths, her dedication, her vision, and always optimistic of life. She, even in her late stage of the cancer, battling with cancer, and I told her, I said, one day you're going to be my child. She was overjoyed. She told neighbors happily that she's going to be my child. That's how she was like, she loves life and looking forward for the next life. That's really stays with me, and the way she going through her late stage of cancer battling is, she used this word, tong means going through or passing through. And Chinese word is interesting. Tong, pain, also is almost the spells the same, but different tone. And has a radical, this radical is illness radical, this radical is warrior. And so warrior with illness is pain. Warrior with walking radical is going through. That's also show how these two words are connected. Life has pain. The pain making the life more interest. And as long as there's a pain, there will be going through. They were passing through. So this word, my mom's words, going through, is carrying on to me. She can endure, I can endure. So, and the light series, and I have to come back from China. So she continued battling with cancer. So I draw these paintings dedicated to my mom, to be with her, channeling her energy. And I immigrated in 87, so at that time, I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak English. I speak tiny little English, but not well. So I learned English. I only can understand a little more. It's children's program on the TV. So Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was my English class. And every beginning of his program, he always say, "You are special. There's no one in the wide world like you. You are special." From China, I first heard of this, anybody saying you are special. Because we grew up with, you are not special. It's people teaching you, education teaching you, you are not special. The group is special, but you are not special. And so by hearing that changed my view of the value of myself. So I start to see myself, recognize myself. I appreciated, I inherited two cultures. Chinese culture is modesty and self-discipline. And Western culture is self-recognition. And I embrace the experience and honor the self-discipline. I almost but too much of I, me, mine, it can shut one off and not seeing the world. So it's important to have a self-confidence, but we need this balance. And I always embrace that self-discipline. I think self-discipline with self and confidence together is noble. Yeah. And coming to US, coming to US, I had a series of dreams, imagining what US like, because I never had any view of foreign country or US. So this is the dream of what's US like. But you can see still kind of Chinese house. And can be terror, shock. This is a nightmare of the dream nightmare. And changing, we call this changing moons. Can be changeable. Can be fairy tale. So can be anything. I just had no idea what to expect of US. And the first thing I step in is New York. And in New York, I also had no idea about abstraction when I was in China. All my training is realistic, representational. And in New York, got to see many different kinds of art. And also throw away the idea of back in China, this is art, that is not art. This traditional technique is art. You don't have a technique, you are not doing art. So, and in New York, I found art is everything, everywhere. You can be, and I was inspired by the subway, the dirty walls, the weathered and the buildings, and the sidewalk, the cement work, constantly working on the sidewalk, fixing, and this studio. And I start to paint like cleaner, paint like a cement worker, and applying with the paint using trowels and brooms, mix the colors, mix the paint with wood chips, and I left a trowel in the painting, and it was unintentional. We just apply, I got loose, and just leave it. The cement worker is such an inspirational. Everywhere I go, I turn around, there's a painting. Just take it. And Earth and Sky, that's inspired by Vermont landscape. Again, I never see open views, open landscape, like coming to Vermont. This is the first time I embrace that, just like breathtaking. And I start thinking, this nature is the greatest. Forget about my style, my ego, throw away. And I really want to just kneel down, asking nature to teach me and copy nature. This is how I intend to just copying. Every day, the sky is changing, the land is changing. Retreat pond. This is the greatest of Vermont. And Wuji, Infinity Within, is also inspired by Vermont and the air, the landscape, the energy. And you can see this, my painting is a little bit more and going back to calligraphy in Chinese painting. Coming to US for past probably 20 years, I never want to touch Chinese painting or practice Tai Chi and read anything about Chinese history, about especially Cultural Revolution books. I don't want to think I want to put that behind, just embracing New York abstraction. But coming to Vermont got me back with this air energy. I started to practice Tai Chi and more in touch with the Qi energy, the flow of energy, and then got back my calligraphy life. So this is a calligraphy in one brush, and you can see some of them is not quietly. The brush, we call this flying white. If some brush work showing white area, and also the blank canvases is Chinese method, Chinese painting method, is leaving the blank to breathe, and you don't have to feel everything. Unlike classic oil painting, you feel all canvas. All canvas has to fill with colors, but Chinese painting is not that. You leave blank. And the bone structure, that's also in Chinese art and calligraphy. It has to have a bone structure. It's not flat. So I consider this has a bone, can stand, like in scaffolding. It can stand there. So I'm showing. Just one stroke. And this is a house paint with mop. And I also, in the traditional art and oil painting, they're always very meticulous about paint. Brush has to be the best and the next. And and the studio has to be best light and the best position. And I think household materials can do work too. It's not only just most expensive paints, most expensive brushes can do the work. So in my studio up there, never had any lights, just one window, and can do the work. So I don't mind where I do, what kind of material, what kind of tools. Portraits. And idea of portraits come from, I've been locked in my studio for a long time, like years. I enjoy to be by myself, no problem. But I start to question myself why I'm doing painting, what painting is about. And then I feel urge of opening my studio, and when I see people, I see everyone's so beautiful. So I keep asking around people, would they like me to draw portraits? So they happily and let me draw. So these portraits, for me, is to connect with people, open my studio. The first person, of course, is connected to my mother. So this is my mother's old photo when she was probably 4-year-old. And from this photo, and I did this. And those also with her cousins together. I not quite know what's this. Probably it's a New Year candle. I call this a series of sisters, brothers, fathers. This is a Beverly Albers. She is a good supporter. Art shows and So that's, and another way to open my studio is collaborations. So in 2023, I started to collaborate with Bob Bomick. And we use all kinds of natural material and to do the collaboration. Between us, we don't have talk, no plan, just one person move, another person move. And so I intend to collaborate with many of you, writers and dancers, musicians and painters, or not painter, anybody, like to collaborate. We love to do that. We love to collaborate with anybody. Cooking and Tai Chi awareness, life as art. So my art practice expanded to many different ways. My Tai Chi teacher, back then, he was 1957. He was sent to jail. And the rumor said he is related to the last emperor. And then the other rumor also said he's outspoken against Chairman Mao. But whatever hideous reason, his life was ruined. He was in the jail for 20 years. He was an actor and coming out unable to act, of course. But in the jail, he practiced Tai Chi. And he came out teaching Tai Chi in the community. That's how it's him for me to believe that everyone has a square feet that belongs to ourselves. No matter where I am standing or where I go, I expand and grow within the square feet and expand within the square feet. So I feel no one can take away that. This is my square feet. So my mother once told me that you go to America, make dumplings and teach Tai Chi. I look at her and say, you're crazy. No. And when I was young, I have an ambition. I want to do spectacular things out of ordinary. But my mother showed me that every day is spectacular. Every day is special. So look what I'm doing now. Cooking as art. My studio expanded into my kitchen. Kitchen as a studio, and the ingredient as a medium, and diner is my subject. So I enjoyed cooking just as well as making art. Tai Chi, teaching Tai Chi in the community. And every Friday, you all are welcome. Fridays, all year long, Tai Chi on the commons or in the winter raining days in the museum. So you're welcome. And these days is a very nice day. We're doing on the commons every Fridays, 8 to 9 o'clock. Free for all. Teaching Tai Chi in the school. And family of artists. My brother is artist, and my sister is artist, and me. And my mother is the best critique for my family. She critiques everyone's work. She was great. My sister's work, and she's a painter and fiber artist. My brother is a multimedia artist. And thank my brother also is very big supporter of what I'm doing. Whether it's cooking or doing teaching, and he always support on the side. And that's the end. This is my brother's work. Keep running.
But I know he's been traveling a lot with
Oh, and is that right? That's crazy. Oh. And we're excited about that too. There are a lot of exciting classes. I think they'll be interesting.
I haven't seen either of them in a long time. I used to see him at the farmer's market.
Oh, and is that right? That's crazy. Oh. And we're excited about that too. There are a lot of